how you feel, it's how you look.
It's how you look.
That's what Fernando said. Welcome to the show.
That's right.
It's March. Welcome to the Sports Wrap. George Ringer. The madness is officially upon us now that it's March.
It's right there. I mean, and to commemorate the first time I ever went to a Big Ten wrestling championship was 1986, and this is to show you that if you take really good care of your T-shirts, they will last for 34, 35 years, and and that's what's going on Saturday.
Saturday, Sunday, the Big Ten Wrestling Championships. Where are they at this year? I saw the commercial last night, but I don't remember them saying where it was at.
I think it's in Indianapolis.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Good. Let's make a road trip of it. Let's go.
Yeah, that would be.
We'll be there. We'll be there in 12 hours.
You know, it is truly one of the finest wrestling tournaments that you can go. I mean, you're talking about amateur wrestling as opposed to professional wrestling, but these athletes are incredible. They're just.
Well, if you think about it, I think the Big Ten has 13. I don't know if all 14 schools have wrestling. I think there's only 13, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe all 14.
So, yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing is, of the 14 wrestlers in most of the weight classes, 8, 9, or 10 of them are going to make the NCAA.
Yeah, there's 10 weight classes, and you're going to have some of these guys are going to be, I mean, they're going to get 6 or 8, Penn State or Iowa, in the finals, and you'll take a look and you'll say, gee, that's why they beat everybody up on the duels. But I have to say this, there's a difference between an individual team a wrestling and a dual team competition, and there's adjustments that you can make that's going to help you win the duel, and duels are always nice to win. It is a team effort, but after that, you know, it's just you and me and the guy behind the tree. It's time to go.
Geez, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Muni, and it's starting to fill in.
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
What happens on a Thursday?
Well, everybody's thirsty, and it's
they get a little thirsty.
They're thirsty, and
what better place to be than the Rainier Muni?
You can pontificate here till.
They'll give you a hot pizza.
They'll even give you a hot pizza.
And they'll even let you try your luck in the pull tab boxes.
You can do that. You
or
can
maybe
shoot
even try
pool.
the jukebox.
Yeah.
Or maybe play a game of darts while the guys are filming or whatever.
A lot of good things have happened to this, and I, you know, I have to say this, that I remember I tried to get in here when I was 18 one time, and the guy behind the bar recognized me and told me to leave. So it goes that long. But this is quite a place. This is what we call a community bar, and it really is.
You and I were talking about the wrestling. Let's finish that up.
Yeah.
We were talking about the wrestling this morning. That we didn't think that the Gophers probably could win any Big Ten titles, but they probably will be sitting maybe 6th, 7th place.
Yeah, they
overall?
really. I think they could. You know, and there's some good wrestlers on this Gopher team. The fact of it is that, you know, probably their best was probably McKee, and he's got Spencer Lee. That's probably one of the best wrestlers the Big Ten has ever had. And so you see, you run into these guys, and 133 pounds is Bravo Young, and it's just, you know, it goes from there.
Shall we interject this into our show?
Sure.
Just got a text message that Lindsay Whalen has stepped down as head coach of the University of Minnesota women's basketball team. How's that for putting that in the middle of your show? Just got the text from our good friend Randy Anderson that we just talked about it on our radio show this morning, that she would get another year, but apparently she has decided that maybe this isn't right for her.
Well, she was tortured by losing. She never, she never spent any time in her whole career in a losing situation, and it's.
I get that. I wonder what this does for these 4 recruits that she brought in from Minnesota. This is just like when Hugh McCutcheon left the volleyball program. All of a sudden, these recruits that he had, all of a sudden, zing, 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 out the door they went. All of a sudden, we see these 4 Minnesota girls that all came in together, and in my mind, thought, okay, we can resurrect the program.
It's the type of situation where it's the coach's job to recruit these people. It's, for the most part, not even the coach's job to teach them. He's got coaches for that, very good coaches,
Sure.
high caliber coaches. He's got to oversee this program, but it's his job to get those kids there. And in my time, I know a lot of players went to the coach because they liked the coach. They were impressed by the coach. That's why if a coach with a certain level of charisma And I'm thinking out loud of my good friend Jim Molosky. I mean, there were people that were, if they weren't going to play for Molosky, they weren't going to play college football. And it's just so you see this type of thing, and I'm not sure you have that now. And as they said, there's 3 recruitments they have to make. They have to recruit high school, they have to recruit portal players. I'm not sure how they go about doing that. And they have to keep their own players from leaving. And it's just, coaching in this manner has to be truly difficult. It really does.
Yeah, like I said, it was a difficult season for the Gopher women. It's been a difficult season for the Gopher men. So I'm surprised. Was it a mutual discussion between AD? Obviously, we don't have as much information, so it's all speculation. But was there a conversation between Coyle and her about what's our next step? Where is it at?
I would suspect that this was probably going on in her mind for a while.
I said it this morning on our radio show, and I'll say it again. A lot of head coaches, by the time they get to the Big Ten or the ACC or whatever, whether it's women or men's, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, doesn't matter. When you become a head coach, you've been an assistant coach for a while. And yes, Lindsay Whalen's been around the game for a long time. And yes, she had 4 years to try to get things figured out. But it's different being a head coach. Mike said it this morning. You know, what did they say? I think ESPN put it out that she's made like 11 half-court shots after practice the day before a game this year.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Your coach can make a three-pointer, but it's about winning basketball games.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with how you shoot.
So obviously there's that camaraderie. We always talk about building a team. Can a coach relate to the kids? Can the kid relate to the coach? I think Lindsay could do that to a certain extent, but there have been many kids who have left the program over the last couple of years. Same with the men's program. In basketball now, I'm talking specifically, and that's a concern. And, you know, like I said, maybe at the end of the day, Lindsay looked herself in the mirror and said, I need to do what's best for the University of Minnesota, and right now that's not me. Never know. 4, 5, 6 years, she goes out and gets to be an assistant coach, let's say in the WNBA, and maybe she got a better offer. Maybe somebody said, come.
She's a Hall of Fame human being, and they just don't give those away. On top of that, she's a Gopher icon, which tells me, again, she knows what's best for Minnesota.
I think she's looking out a little bit maybe for the university.
Yeah.
And again, a WNBA position, their season starts in less than 2 months, so maybe this is something where she got an offer, hey, come coach with us and learn the game. Right? I mean, and learn the game better. She obviously knows the game. That was a bad way of saying that. But you know what I'm trying to say? Learn how to coach the game. It's different.
Well, you know, and I mean, as I remember watching her play basketball, she did it all on guts. It was hustle. She had a pretty good shot, but it wasn't a graceful type thing. But she worked at everything, defensively, offensively. She looks kind of big on the court. She's not that tall, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but she was just a hard-working woman, and you watched her and you were just enthralled. That's what got her in the Hall of Fame, and it's.
Yeah, and like I said, she's going to go coach. She'll go coach somewhere else. And like I said, a head coaching job will come down her way again, whether it's in the WNBA or whether it's at a school, a university. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But again, it's that learning curve. You just don't see a lot of kids come out of college at 23, 24 years old and walk in, like, say, into a high school program and able to be the best coach.
It's really hard to do.
You were a better wrestling coach at the end of your coaching career than you were probably at the beginning.
Not even close.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is here, I'm going to give Lindsay Whalen a pass. I hope she did what she's doing for the right reasons for her, and if she did it for the university, she put that into the equation. Then away it goes.
Do you think this puts any more pressure on Ben Johnson?
Ooh. Does it put more pressure on Ben Johnson? No, I think maybe it puts less on, because maybe would they replace both coaches?
No, I
don't
think
know.
I think right now if they got rid of Ben Johnson, that would be a mistake.
2 years isn't
Yeah,
enough.
he's-
And again,
it's
I'll go over losing Evans, the 7-footer out of California, the 5-star guy. We've talked about him. What a coup it was.
We didn't know that Payne was going to be as good as he was. So, and he's had 1 year to come about. He's a big, strong boy. If they can keep him in the fold, they have a starting center, and and he's going to be a freshman against those. Look at some of those mules he had to go up against. 87'4".
So, anyway, let's finish the wrestling thing.
Yeah.
Because we got sidelined by that.
Okay.
And, obviously, the Gopher women lost yesterday. Their season came to an end yesterday. Down 21-3 early in that game. Came back to tie just inside the last minute at 66 before losing. So, anyway. College wrestling, obviously, big. 2 weeks from now,
Yeah.
the NCAA tournament will go on. Big excitement. I'm
And
sure.
I'll tell you, at 9:30 on Saturday morning are the preliminaries. They kind of quad the screen ups. So if you have a roster and you can see all the matches going on,
You got a really big
at
screen TV.
6:30 at night are the semis, and the semis for the Big Ten tournament is as good at amateur wrestling as you're going to find anywhere. It's terrific. It's even better than the finals because they just fly. The finals, you're a lot more conservative because you get a 1-point lead. You're trying to protect and all the rest of that. The semis
You
is
already
where it's
know.
at.
You already know you're in the NCAA tournament.
You do, yeah. So
High school-
go ahead.
High school wrestling tournament started today. It's
Yes.
Thursday today. The team all goes today. They wrestle 3 times throughout the day, and then some of these guys got to come back and then wrestle 4 or 5 times over the Friday and Saturday
Yeah.
to get through 4 times, right? To get through to the championship. So lots of wrestling, and of course, I was reading an article, and they basically said. The state champions are probably already decided. The top 3 teams in each class probably aren't going to get beat.
they are, and I remember it was a couple of years ago when Shakopee came in, and they were wrestling Apple Valley, which had a really good team, and Shakopee was whapping them. They had 6 returning state champions. And when you start getting that caliber of teams, and you can in that 4A type wrestling thing, it's really, really super tough competition. That being said, we have a kid from International Falls, born and raised here, kind of, but it's Hudson Mann, and he's wrestling down for the Mille Lacs Titans, and he was wrestling at 170 pounds. He wrestled through a true second, which means that he lost in the beginning. He lost to the winner, but he never has an opportunity to go to wrestle the second place man, and they call that a true second match. So he went back, and it's basically 2 really tough matches in a row. And he won the second match, the true second. So I'm not quite sure how that thing ironed out, but he's going to be wrestling tomorrow, and I will at least attempt to see Hudson go. But he's big, strong, good-looking kid, nice kid. I wish him a lot of luck. The rest of the school has 4 kids in the tournament. The other 2 I did see wrestle, just leather strap, small, like 133, maybe 120. They were small, leather strap, tough. And then they had a young lady that's wrestling that's in the tournament as well. So they got a nice little program down there. They got great coaches, super kids. It's kind of a throwback to the 50s. I had really enjoyed being around them.
Yeah, good stuff. Obviously, we don't talk a whole lot of wrestling on here. We talk enough, but you're a wrestling fool, and I'm a closet junkie, so I don't get to watch as much as I'd like to. But that's just the nature of the beast.
And I've been thinking about this. Where does all this go? These kids go in a torturous sport, and they do this for years and years and years. What do they get out of it? And I happened to be at a funeral last week, and I run into a guy named Dave Baker who wrestled for Aiken. He wrestled for a guy named Noel Bailey, and I got a chance to see this guy wrestle when he was in high school. He moved up to International Falls, lived up here for a lot of years, moved down to Wilmer, and ultimately was elected state representative. And so I'm talking to Dave, and the first thing we do is go into a collar hookup. And I said, here I am getting a collar hookup with the state representative. I don't know if I should, but Dave is, we started laughing and started talking about this. What you get are guys like Dave Baker that really can't wait to assist and work in their community. This guy is not capable of being a disingenuous politician. He is not capable of telling a lie.
Wow.
And so
A politician that can't lie.
yeah, that's right, and they're rare. But it was good to talk to him. He met my daughter and the rest of them. But he knew the guy whose funeral arrived very well. They had designed and did a lot of work on Highway 23, going from St. Cloud to Wilmer, but this guy was a remarkable man. But to see Dave Baker again, it was really good. But this is where some of these kids that wrestled 30 years ago, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're state representatives. These people are committed people, and wrestling turns out a lot of them.
It does.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about hockey. We'll start at the top. We'll work our way down towards the bottom. We'll start with the Wild, who have scored points in all 7 of their last 7 games. They're 6-0-1 over that frame. But one thing that's still missing is a plethora of goals. We're not outscoring. We're defensing them to death and
But
winning 2-1.
it's kind of like you're not only going to a hockey game, you're going there to watch a mystery. What's the mystery? Can they score more than 1 goal? And if they score more than 1 goal, is that going to be enough? And it's just like, it's the excitement of just knowing that they're not scoring a whole lot of goals tells me they have to rely on defense, and I think the defense during that 6-1 series has been pretty good. And
yeah, goaltending's been good. Defense has been good. They've been shuffling guys, as far as I'm concerned, shuffling guys in and out of on the defensive side, and it doesn't seem to make a difference who's out there. Brodin's been out. Dumba's kind of back in the good graces of everybody. It sounds like Addison went through his problem. Sounds like he's back in the good graces. He assisted on the overtime winner for Kaprizov the other night. It just seems like whether it's Goligoski or whoever's in there, things are getting done. I found it interesting that all of a sudden I'm going to forget the captain's name here, for heaven's sakes. Number 46. What? Come on, I got everything but his. Anyway, he's got, since 2020, he's got the most blocked shots of anybody in the NHL.
Oh, really?
Most blocked shots.
Well, you know,
and I can't think of his name right now.
I was watching Dumba, and somebody took a slap shot about 15 feet away from him. He lifted his stick and was almost like he was playing stickball and swatted it to the other corner. And I just
Jared Spurgeon, I didn't even have to type it in. It finally came, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, I think the defense is playing really. I enjoy watching their games because you just don't know how they're going to turn out. And, of course, tell me, you know, I mean, Kaprizov getting 3 goals, picking up his hat trick, winning, you know, in overtime. The guy's is just a superstar.
He is.
Period.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see. 6 of the next 7 games are on the road. 9 of 14 on the road in the month of March. The Wild, who are sitting in 3rd place, they were in 2nd place till Colorado won the other night. They're right there. They're just points out of 1st place,
Well,
but they're also just points out of missing the playoffs.
Well, and like we were talking about, Boston's coming to town. Well, in my mind, this is an opportunity.
Sure.
You know, you guys want to, you know, make the playoffs, win some games in the playoffs. You know,
They played Boston way back in October, early in the season. I think it was Game 4,
It was.
if I remember right. 3 or 4
in the Garden
on that way. Out there, I was at. The reason why I remember it because I was sitting in a bar in Niagara Falls, Ontario, watching the game on TV. You don't get those opportunities all the time, and I was watching the Boston feed. So, long story short here, the Wild lost 4-3 in overtime. Like with 9 seconds left, 10 seconds left, the Flower gives up not a horrible goal, but not a good goal. And the people back here in Minnesota were having a fit. Because remember, Minnesota started off losing 7-6 and 7-5, and all of a sudden we went out to Boston, and everybody's like, "Whoa, my gosh, we lost in overtime in Boston, and we're going to." Well, now we obviously know what's going on. Boston's going to be setting records for points, standings, whatever else as a team. By the way, just signed their David Pastrnak what did I tell you? About 11 million. I think it was 9 years for like 100. It was some obscene number, folks.
I remember taking math classes and stuff, but I never remember reading numbers like that.
So, anyway, we're ready to throw them out. Again, this is going to be 5 months later.
Yeah.
Two totally different teams.
Yeah.
Wild did make 2 trades. The trade deadline is tomorrow. They made 2 trades for Marcus Johansson and Nyquist. Like, and I think Gustav
Gustav's
Nyquist.
Nyquist.
Not going to be in the lineup. Maybe not at all this season, depending upon they're saying he may not be ready until the playoffs. So, not major trades, but you never know. Guerin in the next 24 hours could do something crazy.
Well, that's okay, but I like. Hey, Matt Dumba was always one of my favorite guys
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
team, and he's back in the good graces and playing good hockey. It's good to see.
College hockey, of course, the Big Ten, they start their playoffs this weekend. Minnesota has the bye. There's 7 teams in the Big Ten. Minnesota gets the bye. They are the #1 team in the nation right now. Very scary how good they are. The NCHC, they're playing their final week of the regular season. Things kind of set there. Denver's the #1. Miami's the last, but these middle teams.
And Miami's a pretty good team, and so, I watched the Gophers, I guess it was against Michigan State, and it was in the third period. When that defense collapsed around that goalie, there's no way they can get any of those shots in there. So if the Gophers get a lead, they just pull that thing in tight as a tick. And, you look for little corners. Can you see anything in there? No, not really. Well, so it really makes it difficult. They got a great team.
Yeah, Minnesota,
That's the best one they've had in a long
looks good.
time.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Probably looks like unless North Dakota, UMD make a run through their playoffs, they're going to miss the tournament. Both of them for the first time in years. But I guess that means there's new blood. Omaha looks like they will probably make it. Western Michigan, who's been a very good team the last few years, will be back in there. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting along the way. And of course, the high school hockey tournament is next week. The section tournaments are this week. Rockridge put a spanking on Duluth Denfeld. I think everybody and probably the whole northern Minnesota was surprised that Rockridge won 12-1. Duluth Denfeld must have absolutely quit. And to me, I don't know if I should go on the record. Both those teams are going up to AA, but Denfeld's coach, I don't know.
They started out pretty good, didn't they? They're strong. Didn't they beat Duluth East even?
They were right there with Duluth East. Denfeld, their coach is controversial. I'll say it that way. He is very bam in your face, and I don't know if the boys shut down on him in that third period, if they took a tongue lashing in between the second and the third period, but they gave up 6 goals in running time. That's tough to do. So I'm a little concerned about what's going on there, but Rockridge loses 3-1 to Hermantown. It was a 2-1 game. Hermantown gets an empty netter. Hermantown snuck by Hibbing Chisholm 3-2 in the semis. So Hermantown, well, we know that they're not the best team in the state because they lost to Warroad, who's the best team in the state as far as the rankings go. And Warroad has taken on all comers in Class A this year and beat every one of them. So in the state tournament next week, they are the favorite. They go in there with that hanging on their hats, and we'll see what happens. They still have to win tonight. Sorry, no offense to East Grand Forks. I hope I didn't offend anybody of the Green Wave, but if they would beat Warroad tonight, wow.
They call it a hockey town, and they do that for a reason. And it was because Christian Brothers. It was like Christian started a stick factory there after they were in the Olympics. But I'm just trying. But it is hockey town, and they think hockey. Not that they don't in Roseville. But between the two schools, those are hockey towns, and they've turned out some of the finest hockey players this state has ever seen, period.
And Roseville's playing in the Section 2A final, the AA final against Moorhead. So both those teams are in their section final, different classes.
Yeah.
Basically the same size school. So you got to give the attaboy to Roseville for hanging in there. I cannot believe that they've been able to hang in there.
All these years.
All these years.
And not that they have developed any more notoriety in terms of winning than Warroad, say, but people give them a lot of credit for sticking it out there. And all these other big schools, I mean, Roseau's facing academies, sports academies, and when you take a look at that, you kind of have a way of pulling for the schools, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So high school hockey tournament next week, section championships tonight and tomorrow night to finish things up. It is, like I said, the madness is here. It's a very exciting time. So you got state wrestling tournament going on. You got the state boys swimming and diving championships going on this weekend. Like I said, you got the section finals. You got section basketball, girls starting this week, already underway. And then you've got the boys starting next week.
Tell us about, if you want to watch these on TV, where to go.
So a lot of the section championship games that most people, you can't watch. You could obviously go search for radio stations, but a lot of these games are being broadcast on NSPN.TV. So like ESPN, but it's NSPN. .TV.
Yeah.
And George buys it by the month. I just went and bought it for the year. I'm like, for $25 for the year. I don't.
Well, I just wanted, this month was what was important, but it was like $6.
Yeah.
And so no, I think that this is a pretty good deal, and so I
You're going to get for that price. You're going to get the state wrestling tournament. You're going to get the games for the state basketball tournaments that aren't on TV, the consolation rounds. Then you're going to get to see softball, baseball tournament games, the state tournament games, because those aren't on TV. They cover the state track and field meet. So they'll have cameras set up at the shot put area. They'll have a camera set up at the pole ball area.
And then next fall, I can watch all the football I want.
You can watch the football every week, every Friday night. They'll have games on, and then again, when it gets to the sections, they'll have those games on. And one of the things is they're looking for announcers. If you want to go buy a camera and some audio equipment, they would love to have you do games for them, and they'll pay you to do it.
Huh.
What do you
How about
know?
that? What do
Making
you
money
know?
watching sports. It's
Ah.
the best. Whatever.
That's the best of two worlds.
They pay you to go watch sports. Why do you go run to all those games? They pay me to go watch sports. Come on.
There was a time I worked for money. I don't have to do that.
I'll say it this way. I said this on the air last night. I was doing a hockey game in Canada last night, so I didn't get to watch Hermantown and Rockridge. But I said it right on the air. I said, if I wasn't here tonight, I would be at home in the basement. I'd have the Hermantown Rockridge hockey game here. I'd have the Muskie hockey game over here, and I would be in heaven. I would be enjoying the heck out of it. Plus flipping through the channels, watching everything else that's on, because you've got women's basketball tournaments in college, the big games coming up here in the men's.
What you know, and your wife will tell you, and everybody else will say, you could be doing a lot worse stuff. And
A lot worse stuff. Hey, before we leave basketball, shout out to the UMD women's basketball team for winning their third consecutive NSIC title. And the men came up 10 points short against Moorhead. Those two teams played 3 times this year, with Moorhead winning twice. So UMD basketball is good. Central Region, tournament coming up for Division II basketball. Both the UMD teams will be in there. So maybe get a chance to watch a little bit of that. I'm not sure when, but we hope to be able to watch a little bit of that.
Well, I'll tell you what, they always have during the championship weekend of basketball, the Division II championship game. And I watch that because oftentimes it makes the other game look pathetic. These guys are fast, they're quick, they're really good shots. Are they a step away from Division I? Hard to say. I can't tell at that level. Some of them are. And it's just like you take a look at these teams. They're excellent teams, and so you get a chance to see those Division II teams. They're pretty good.
Yeah, good stuff there.
Yeah.
So we got hockey out of the way. We got the start of basketball here. Of course, we talked about Gopher basketball already, but Timberwolves came out of the break, lost 3 straight, but then won against the Clippers the other night, which is a good sign in LA. And they're going to get the LeBron-less LA Lakers tomorrow night, which means you should pick up a win, Timberwolves, and get back above 500.
Well, that would be good. And they're going to have to do that. I mean, I'm not how many games they were going to win second half there.
Everybody's still panicking about the Timberwolves and everything else. They're 32-32.
Yeah.
Does anybody realize that in their panic, they're only a game out of 5th place in the Western Conference, but they're also only a game and a half out of missing the playoffs? That's how tight it is. So there's teams out there, we're complaining about the Timberwolves, but there's, I'm going to go back. I've used this example probably 15 times on this show. If we're ticked off, Minnesota Timberwolves fans are ticked off, Where are the Golden State Warrior fans at? They're like 32 and 30 or 32 and 31 or whatever it is. They're just above 500, and they're the defending NBA champions, and they essentially have the same team back that they had last year. And I don't know. I'm not in San Francisco in the Oakland area, and maybe they are freaking out. But we don't have anything. Golden State could miss the playoffs just as badly as much as we could.
I look back on all the years of the Timberwolves. I don't know when there was a better team.
Yeah.
I mean, they can put
Over the last 10 or 15 years, this is probably
You know,
the second best team. Yes.
and they have a pretty good backbench, and so there's people that can come in, and I mean and they've been able to do this for a couple of years. I'm not sure that they've been able to piece together the team that they want to piece, and somewhere along the line, that's going to probably come to coaches changes, but.
Yeah, I heard someplace today that whoever said Chris Finch has got to go, and I'm like, well, maybe.
See,
but
the thing of it is that
that's the
you get rid of somebody, and everybody wants to get rid of the quarterback. And this, that. Who are you going to replace him with? You see, and it's just there's not a lot of demand for high caliber people. A lot of people want to
get rid of Rocco Baldelli because he does this and he does this and he does this. Well, he may do those things, but you sometimes, as much as the coach wants things to be a certain way, it doesn't mean that is going to get any better. And I always say, let's go back to Tom Kelly.
Kelly and Gardenhire.
And those guys were the managers for the Twins for years and years and years and years, through the good times and the bad times. And sometimes there's this cycle to sports teams. And sometimes they're going to be down, and it's just like high school teams and college teams. I know everybody wants a champion, but at the end of the year, only 1 out of 30 or 32 teams wins it.
Well, and to bring it back to Tom Kelly, who was just an incredible baseball man. I never saw him get excited. Rarely did he ever get excited. He sat there in his faded blue jeans and stayed cool, calm, and collective, and he did that for an awful long time. So, and when he timed to quit, he was at the top of his game, turned it over to Gardenheimer, and Gardy was same thing. So these people know what they're doing.
Twins started 2-3-1 in their first 6 games. A couple split squad games in there. That's why they've got 6 games in already. And but the big news probably in baseball is apparently
we're watching right here.
Apparently there's some bigger bases, which I had forgotten about. But the defense not being able to infield, having to have 2 guys on either side of second base. Your feet can't be on the outfield.
So what's that going to do to left-handed hitters?
They are saying this is going to help every left-handed hitter in the major leagues is going to see their batting average climb. And the other thing is, with all that, runs are up. Okay, which of course people like to see.
That's what they want scoring.
But the best part about it, through the first 5 or 6 days of spring training, games are 22 minutes shorter.
22. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and there are some pitchers, and I'm watching the clock right now. He is going right on a thing, and he's letting fly at 5 seconds left. Now some of these pitchers have rhythms that they're just like stopwatches. They just click right off. And you watch right down here, he'll go down and he'll get the sign. He'll go, and here it goes. Oh, a little later for this one. Nailed him.
So watching it, I mean, to me, this is what it's about, speeding up the game, because, folks, I love sports, you know that. I'll invest the whole afternoon into watching baseball, hockey, whatever it is. But when the batter steps out and he adjusts himself and he redoes his gloves, and then the pitcher gets on, and then he's got to go through his routine. Yeah. Now they're going through their routines at the same time. Now I can live with it.
Well, and it's like in basketball, they didn't always have a shot clock. And basketball, even at the professional level, was somewhat dull. And everybody thought, how are they going to be able to play with that? Well, they adjusted real quick, and guess what happened? Fans came to watch them. And I have no problem with this. Basketball able to do it. Football's able to do it.
I mentioned tennis this morning. Yeah. They've got a serve clock. You got to get, when the point is done, the clock starts, and you need to serve by then. I call it the Rafael and Novak rule, because they would go through a 47-second ritual it was painful to watch.
I just know that the delay of game drives a football coach right up a stick. And it's just like, because there's no reason for that. And it's just, I'm getting excited already. But you have to have that clock in your mind. It's like how do you get across the lane in 3 seconds? 1001, 1002, 1003. They teach you that in the 4th grade, and you don't ever forget.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to discuss before we depart for the first week of the madness?
That's the first week of the madness
It's
already.
the first week of March Madness. Yeah, I mean it's the first week of March, and it really doesn't end till about the middle of April.
I
really.
think I think this, if anybody is going to be able to pick anything close to a correct bracket this year, it's going to be a minor miracle. Maybe with the girls, women, a few there's
the
some.
women. I think
little-
you could see
Yeah.
that, but the men still way
In fact,
too
the women, I
unpredictable.
saw this team from South Carolina. They're still really good.
They are really good. Caitlin Clark's three-pointer at
Clark.
the buzzer the other day was
Yeah,
pretty exciting.
you know, and if you, they're doing this in Minneapolis, and everybody's going to be watching Caitlin.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
who plays for Iowa.
Yeah.
I got to share this story before we go. So Eli was playing hockey in Virginia on Wednesday. I jump in my car to head home. We had to go in separate vehicles because it's a long story. Anyway, I get in the car. I turn on the car, and I've got it on XM. I got it on XM because I'm out of town. And so I start clicking the sports stations, and I get to Iowa versus Indiana women. It's 85-83. 2 seconds left in the game. I'm like, well, I can't miss the end of this. So, of course, Caitlin Clark comes off a C curl cut, 2 screens, catches the ball, throws up a freaking prayer, and it goes in for the win, 86-85. So I'm listening to the Iowa feed. So it's the Iowa basketball, Iowa University feed. It's their announcers that I'm listening to. And of course, the Iowa men came back the day before, 24 hours earlier, scored 17 points in the final 55 seconds of the game to force it to overtime. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Anyway, obviously I'm an announcer, and this woman, the color commentator was a woman, and all she could keep saying was, "Oh my God." And then about 2 seconds later, all of a sudden she would scream, "Oh my God." George, this went on for like 45 seconds.
Ooh.
That's all she could say. And I'm like, somebody turn the microphone on. Turn the microphone on. She couldn't say anything else. That's all she could say. It was
Well, you know, and Caitlin Clark undoubtedly is really a good basketball player. But when you're talking about your friend, young Miss Braun, there were times that she was playing at that level as well. She gets blind on those threes, and they just drop. At the second half, in the 4th quarter, her legs were going a little bit, but the rest of the team picked up the pace. But they look for her an awful lot. She's very, very young. She is going to improve. You forget this about women too. They get stronger the more they train, and she's an incredible athlete.
We'll see who's left on that women's team. It's gonna let's start the saga and see what happens.
Yeah,
All right, we're good.
we're good.
We're good. Have fun, everybody, with March Madness. We'll talk to you maybe next week. We'll see how it fits into the schedule.